the pure speculation that maybe it's the result of a process gone wrong and it needed to be dumped overboard. I mean, there have been plenty of instances of UAPs that have been alleged to have been seen that look like they're in distress. And so that to me, that's a possibility.
Council Bluffs Materials is not a smoking gun. We don't know who made this stuff or why, but it is still an open, viable mystery. It's not quite enough to counter the Arrow report, but there are other types of evidence, including mass sightings, that would push back against that Arrow report to suggest that non-human intelligence is real and it's here. Mass sightings, seen by hundreds or even thousands of people at the same time, could provide the sort of undeniable proof of non-human intelligence that I need for my report, if they can be validated. Mass UFO sightings are true anomalies. They don't happen very often. My personal opinion is we only see them when they allow us to see them. Sometimes we get these brief glimpses. It seems like a show of force, maybe? Maybe it is meant to inspire us, to show us what technical capabilities are out there that we haven't achieved yet. If Arrow's not going to do the work, if they're not going to honestly tackle these big questions, then we're going to have to do it for them, while there are still people willing to share their stories. In 1954, a soccer match in Florence, Italy came to a complete standstill when the 10,000 spectators and the players on the field all noticed strange crowds hovering over the stadium, part of a wave of sightings all across that country. Then there's the Belgian wave that began in 1989 and lasted into 1990. Thousands of people across Belgium watching two F-16s chase a massive triangular UFO over the course of an hour and failed to intercept it. But perhaps the most significant mass sighting of all time happened in the heart of one of America's largest cities, the phenomenon known as the Twin X-Lights.
A lot of folks are wondering what was on the side of the military aircraft or
by thousands of people, and a lot of them have photographic evidence. In 1997, about eyewitnesses watched it all as a boomerang hitting formation of lights, leaving slowly and silently over the city of Phoenix. Our Phoenix light stage was huge, both literally and figuratively, huge in the sense of what witnesses described as gigantic boomerang that some people said was like a free football field. Witnesses first thought these were separate planes flying in formation, but didn't realize the planes were all part of this huge gigantic something. And it's big in a figurative sense in that it was such an overt demonstration, thousands of witnesses left and for hours.
And you recorded that night, that part, that they thought they were 100 miles close to me anymore on
There were lots of attempts to debunk the Phoenix Lights case. You had the governor of Arizona making a silly statement with somebody dressed in an alien costume.
And now I'll ask Officer Stein and his colleagues to escort the accused to the whole in the guilty party.
You had the military. At first they said, no, we don't have anything in the air. That wasn't us. Then a couple days later, they said, oh, yeah, that's right. We had some flares up there. Some A-10s were dropping flares. That's what people must have seen, which is wholly unacceptable as an explanation for what people witnessed and videotaped. But it seems to have worked, because 37 years later, this case is pretty much forgotten, swept under the rug. I want to find out and expose how that happened to Arrow and to the public. Because they need to understand how the truth about non-human intelligence is concealed to this day. I've got leads on witnesses in town who saw how their stories are discounted and dismissed. And it's motivated them to share their stories and to keep this case alive. They swear that what they saw that night was a real non-human craft. And many believe this was not a one-time event. It's happened many times over the years. Tom King is an example. He was here when it happened, and he said that some of the same forms of things that were seen in association with this giant boomerang are still in the skies over Phoenix, and he's got video of it.
You know, Tom King did the video.
A lot of times people become obsessive and they'll record everything that's in the sky, every bird, every plane, every satellite, every balloon. and call it a UFO. So I'm interested in what Tom King has been doing and want to take a look at what he's actually caught on tape. Like the bridge of the Enterprise is here.
Yeah, I call this UFO lab. I have 14 cameras that are looking north, south, east, west. Then a multi-site camera looking at the entire sky. We throw them on the road for weather. 5, the blunt is about 158 degrees. It's going to shut down.
Have you ever added up what all this is, or do you not want to know that number?
It would be very nice for us. Very, very nice for us.
It's not shocking for me to learn how common that it is UFO modern operation. These kind of things affect us. Once you realize that there's something else out there that we are not of, I mean, it goes into your whole.
I call this the green tube. It's like a neon electric. It has its own light. It's like sun. I could have a PhD in dialogue. 10 years left of it. I've never seen nothing like that. Never seen anything like that. All you see one of the captured just last year. So this is one of those white dwarf type objects. What we're looking at here is I used a software called Nova.
Bro, what the
trace light path. So
Oh.
what happens is it does this racetrack pattern. It comes down a half circle, and it repeats that twice in this video. Not a bird, that's too high to be a bird. It's up about twice as high as planes either taking off from the sky in orbit or planes coming in for landing. In fact, the whole area here, Class B airspace, there's a plane, visual reference right now. And these objects are above these planes. It blows me away. It goes bounces off that part of the sky, and these planes turn. Under intelligence control.
These kinds of intelligent control and the ability to move high speed and rapidly change direction without any visual. It was gigantic. It floated right over Phoenix, right over a major internet airport, right in proximity to a major U.S. Air Force base. And Arrow is not even taking a look at it. How does that make sense? That's what it's called. Color section. And why is it so low? That's right. We have and
Okay. This is the location. They're sitting there for talks. That's what this double link. There's two side by side. This is like, then they started winding up one by one by one by one. They're lined up. They made a pattern, man. There's geometry behind this. They're definitely moving. This video got seen worldwide. They said this is our town vlog. Well, this is the biggest event that's ever happened in the history of this town. We're still trying to uncover what that thing was. It's my plan to make sure the boomerang can't fly around here unchecked anymore.
so it comes back, you're ready.
Oh yeah, I'm more than ready.
There were attempts to debunk it.
The Air Force had something up on radar that night. They had follow-ups with reporters who contacted the tower, and they said they didn't see anything on radar. And everything is hush-hush. Nobody wants to talk about this on an official basis, but the FAA, aircraft control, and the military, it's like, let's pretend this goes away by itself.
I'm sympathetic to the authorities who are confronted with something like this. They don't know what it is. I can see them trying to downplay it because they don't want to talk it. But talking with Tom and other witnesses, it does seem there was a coordinated, larger effort to get this story out of the headlines stand. The public not take it seriously. That's sort of what Carol's been doing. You know, the reports they issue seems designed to make Congress ask these questions to discourage the media from pursuing this story. So here's the obvious next step. Reach out to the source and find out what they might know about what numbers are going
It's important to pursue response to error report. And we need to look at things from a pilot's perspective. See if the actually have to be through my pilot network. We're able to change this training. He was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam. He flew captain teams in the Air Force, even commercially. We can experience this firsthand. not in the sky, but on the ground. Right? He can give me specific information on how the thing moves, what it looked like, how big it's possible. What did you see?
Oh yeah, okay. It was just a real pleasant evening. My wife and I were driving back from a restaurant.
Back.
The windshield goes,
Everybody back.
lights, and she had a urgency in her voice. And I kind of looked up, and I went, it's just a flight of fighters, because we were in that area under Luke's airspace.
In those formations.
Yes, and so, but as soon as I went, it's just a flight of fighters, I immediately went, no, it's not. There's no anti-collision lights. There's no strobe lights. It's quiet. There's no harsh incandescent. So it's not a big airplane. I can see it still blanking out the star feeder. And there was that. Before that, I couldn't make out the shape.
What do you think it was?
I have no idea.
Do you feel like it's technology that we have?
Why would the military devise a large radar
What?
craft and fly it over a population
For thousands to see.
with the lights turned on to prove that it can be seen?
The military has a lot of secrets, and we could understand some kind of stealth technology that most of us don't know about. Based on what I've heard, it doesn't sound like this is something that the military has or that's man-made. People have said that night there was a flare exercise.
It has been kind of the primary distraction from the Phoenix Light sighting that the skeptics actively seize on as, that was flares. But what I saw that night was not flares. They didn't do anything real dramatic. They just silently out of sight on about an east-southeast heading.
No parachutes.
No parachutes,
No trail.
and they nice formation too. As they went out of sight.
Theory being used with flares.
Primarily in Vietnam, with flares. I had lots of experience with those. We actually had a flare standby mission where you were designated the flare pilot for that night. Sure enough, the company would get troops in contact.
Right.
And then they require flares to illuminate the battlefield. The other way I've seen the flares is from the ground, because I was on a fairly small fire base.
Right.
And occasionally the NDA would attack us. So I've seen the flares being dropped above us. So you see the parachute, they're suspended, and they sort of flicker in a very distinctive way. And then they're very hot and they go like you can shoot them to the ground.
I heard you had spoken about this experience.
No, it was one of those like, I have no idea what I saw. And if I go describing something like that,
Like ground.
Yeah,
Right. I get it. Now I get why he was reluctant to come forward after all these years. Because as a person in uniform, our reputation in the department, health is everything. I mean, his career was on the line if he came forward. Why do you think this is the first time coming out?
The Phoenix Lights was an actual event. This was a craft that flew over Phoenix, and I wanted to be able, without having my paperwork out or anything, saying this happened, and the incredible person that's a lot of